Welcome, my name is Violet. Today we'll be making a red salsa. So we'll start with just 3 cloves of garlic. You can hit it with the back of your knife to peel off that outer layer, and then we'll just be mincing our garlic so that it blends well into our salsa in the food processor. And then once we add that to our food processor, we'll move on to our cilantro. We're going to be using about half a cup. You can eyeball it if you like or measure, it's up to you. We'll be chopping this pretty coarsely. It'll all get blended in the processor. We just want it to blend well, so putting it into those smaller bits. And then next we're moving on to our Roma tomatoes. I'm using about 4 of these. Roma tomatoes will vary in size, so if you have some smaller tomatoes, what you want it to equal is about 4 cups. We're just chopping them into some bigger chunks to be blended. This is a great source of vitamin C for our salsa. And then next we're moving on to our jalapeno. So you can either dice a jalapeno as is, but leaving the seeds in if you prefer a spicier salsa. If you don't prefer a spicier salsa, you can de-seed it by cutting it in half lengthwise, the way I am here. And then just using a small paring knife, being careful not to cut yourself, and removing those seeds. You may even want to rinse the jalapeno under water to make sure none of those seeds are left over. And if you're using your bare hands the way I am here, just make sure that you rinse off your hands afterwards so that you don't get any of that hot pepper in your eyes. And then once you're done de-seeding your jalapeno, all we're going to do is chop it just in the way that we did our Roma tomatoes. And we'll do that in a pretty coarse fashion, just so it all gets incorporated well. And then we will add that right into the rest of our mixture. And then once we have that done, we'll move on to our white onion. We're using a whole white onion. Similar to how we've cut everything else, you just want to remove that outer layer, peeling off that outside skin and then removing the ends. And then we will chop in half to further cut into some big sized chunks. They don't need to be uniform, just like the rest. And we'll just cut it into smaller pieces here. And then once that's cut, we'll just add that right into the rest of our ingredients. And then now that your onion's done, we'll put it right into our food processor, being careful not to spill any of it and making sure that we're getting out all of that cilantro. It's very flavorful for this salsa. And we can add some lime juice here. You can use a few tablespoons. I'm choosing to just use half of a lime. Squeeze it right in. Maybe use your hand as a shield. And then we will add in just a teaspoon of salt. You can change this to your liking if you prefer. And then we'll put the top onto our food processor and blend away. You can choose to pulse the blender or put on puree. You might find that it will stick to the sides just a little bit as it blends. And so if you find that things are sticking on top as they were in mine, you can grab a small spatula and scrape down those sides so you can get those larger pieces of onion or tomatoes that had stuck all well blended together into your salsa. And now that it's all incorporated, all we have to do is dish it up into a storage glass for our refrigerator, trying not to make a mess. And then once you have it in there, give it a few taps so that we can remove any air that may have incorporated as we have been pouring it into the jar. And then we will just clean it off so that there's nothing on the outside. You can pop on the lid, and there's your salsa. Enjoy!